How do the Houston Texans go about this offseason, balancing what they might want to do and certainly what we want them to do versus what they need to do to be competitive and get things settled for the 2025 season? Welcome into the channel. I'm Cody Stoots. Let's talk some Texans. Want versus need with this Texans team. We'll talk a little bit about that. It is Friday, and so a new thing here in the offseason – Food Review Friday. We will get you a food review here before this live stream is over. And if everybody plays nice, maybe we'll do a mock draft as well. Because the mock draft machine was not updated with the Senior Bowl stuff last week. It is updated this week. So if everybody plays nice, we'll do a mock draft at the end as well. So let's talk a little bit about balancing the want and the need for this Texans team. I just got through watching Nick Caserio talk on Todd McShay's podcast, and he had a big, long, nice, word salad-esque answer for what are the priorities for the Houston Texans this offseason. And it surprised me a little bit at the beginning when he talked about that most of the skill position players for the Texans are under contract and most of the offensive linemen are under contract, and that they just want to go out there and find good football players. And they felt like they had a lot of defensive players that were not under contract. Now, maybe he's looking at it from a too deep perspective, but their starting safeties are under contract for next season, Jimmy Ward and Kalen Balak. Their starting cornerbacks are under contract next year, Jalen Petrie at the nickel cornerback slot, Derek Stingley, and Kamari Lassiter. Their starting defensive ends are under contract, Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter. Their starting linebackers, 2 or 3, Azeez Al-Shaair, Henry To'o, Christian Harris are under contract. Now, they don't have either of their main starters from the defensive tackle room, so maybe that's what he's talking about. But looking at the offense, they've got 1 wide receiver. They've got 2 tight ends that you can count on right now. They don't know exactly which of these linemen are worth keeping, and they've got 1 running back of note. So it's not as clear-cut to me from an off-season focus perspective, but Nick Caserio saying that did get me thinking that maybe we just adjust the expectations a little bit. So want versus need. Then we'll do a mock draft, then we'll do a food review. Okay? If everybody plays nice on the mock draft. We'll answer some questions along the way as well. Want. 2 new starters on the offensive line. Look, Laramie Tunsil's entrenched at left tackle, and I don't anticipate the Texans are moving on from Laramie Tunsil in anytime soon. So he's there at left tackle, and Blake Fisher is interesting enough to be the right tackle is the way I would phrase it. Blake Fisher's interesting enough to be the right tackle for this team. So there's your tackle. So really it's 3 interior spots. I have to imagine, especially based off of Caserio's comments, that amongst the group of Titus Howard, Juice Scruggs, and Jarrett Patterson, they can fill 2 of those interior offensive line spots, though I would prefer 2 brand new starters on the interior, specifically at the guard spot. But that's just what I want. The Texans have options if they want to, say, put Titus Howard at left guard. They have options if they want to have Jarrett Patterson and Juice Scruggs fight to the death for the center spot. Again, those are options. I want 2 new starters, ideally 2 brand new guards. Let the 2 centers that you have on the roster duke it out to see if they can end up as the center for this team. And you get 2 brand spanking new, impressive, awesome guards for this team. That's what I want. What they truly need, though, is they just need a new right guard. Look, Titus Howard and Shaq Mason's contracts, on any given year, if there was only one of those, they would get rid of that player. If they just had Titus Howard's money, they'd get rid of Titus Howard more than likely. If they just had Shaq Mason's money, they'd get rid of Shaq Mason. But the fact that they have both of those contracts, and it's very difficult and fiscally irresponsible to move on from both of them from a dead cap perspective and the cost to replace those players, it lends me to believe that one of those guys is sticking around and that Titus Howard's going to get that opportunity. Shaq Mason, He did not play well last year at right guard. He was one of the weakest points on that offensive line throughout most of the season, and the Texans need a new right guard. And when I say a new right guard, I don't mean, Juice Scruggs is going to plan to play right guard in the offseason. Jarrett Patterson is going to plan to play right guard in the offseason. Ladarius Henderson, late round pick from 2024, is actually going to be the right guard for this team. I mean, someone not in the building at NRG Stadium right now, someone not on the roster, a free agent, a highly drafted player, somebody like that is what I'm looking for in that new right guard spot for the Houston Texans. You might want 2 new guards. They need a new right guard on this team, preferably a veteran, because then you'd have a veteran in Laramie Tunsil at left tackle. You'd have a veteran at left guard in Titus Howard. You'd have a younger player at center between Scruggs and Patterson, both of them going into their 3rd season. You'd have a veteran at right guard, and you'd have a second-year player at right tackle. And there'd be a little bit less of an unknown to the offensive line, and hopefully a little bit more cohesiveness because you have a few more experienced players in there on the offensive line. So now that might limit your talent ceiling, but they've just got to get average. If they were bad last year, if they could just get average, they'd be well on their way. Another want versus need. I want a new wide receiver room outside of Nico Collins. I want 5 new names right there next to Nico Collins in the wide receiver room. All right. Stefon Diggs coming off the injury, 32 years old next season. No, thank you. Xavier Hutchinson, 2 seasons in, it's never really clicked. No, thank you. John Mechie, it hasn't ever lived up to the 2nd round pick that they traded up to draft him with. No, thank you. Jared Wayne, no, thank you. Johnny Johnson III, no, thank you. Who am I missing from their wide receiver room that's currently there? Tank Dell's hurt. Obviously, I'd love for Tank to play in 2025. That's just not a realistic thing. Xavier Johnson, no thank you. I want a new wide receiver room. And go find veterans, go find rookies, go find undrafted guys, go trade for somebody off the back of someone's roster with a future 7th round pick. That's what I want. Now, what they actually really need here is a clear wide receiver too. They need a clear wide receiver. They need somebody else that they can go to, they can trust in a difficult situation outside of Nico Collins. Too often last year, they went into a game with one option, either by virtue of Bobby Slowick's offense sucked, guys weren't playing well. Too many times, one option was their guy in the passing game. And we know Nico Collins is good. He's proven it now, back-to-back years. He's excellent. We know that. They've got to get him a partner in crime. They have got to find that player to be the partner in crime for Nico Collins. Somebody that CJ Stroud can rely on, that can help him create answers to when defenses throw things at him. They've got to find that person. Is that a trade for a wide receiver on another team like a Cooper Kupp or a more expensive one in DK Metcalf? Is that a free agent that they go out there and sign? Dream no little dreams. T. Higgins, Chris Godwin, more realistic. And on draft pick, Emeka Ibuka from Ohio State, Luther Burden from Missouri, if he falls in the draft. They've got to find that number 2 guy that they can confidently say defenses have to account for this player when he's on the field for us. They didn't have that too often throughout the course of 2024. A lot of times it was out of their control. Nico was hurt for 5 weeks. Stefon Diggs had a season-ending injury. Tank Dell had a season-ending injury. I understand that. Things were out of their control a couple of different times, but they've got to have that guy at that number 2 wide receiver spot. You know what else I want? I want another playmaker on defense. I want a guy that can just go out there as a brand new addition to this team, like Azeez Al-Shire from free agency or like Kamari Lassiter from the draft, and just go out there and just crush right from the jump. That's what I want. Maybe Malachi Starks from Georgia, their stud safety. Maybe he slips in the draft and the Texans want to draft him. Or maybe they go out there and they find a really good safety to replace Jimmy Ward right away, and you got Kalen Bullock and a free agent safety out there. Or maybe they go and spend on one of the expensive defensive tackles, or they get a really good third cornerback that you don't feel crazy when you put him on the field because Kamari Lassiter needs a breather, Derek Stingley needs a breather, or Jalen Petrie needs a breather. That's what I want out of this Texans offseason. They need defensive line depth, though, over on defense. Like, as much as I'd like a Malachi Starks from Georgia as a rookie back there, another dynamic playmaker at the safety spot along with Bullock, as much as I'd like that, they need some veterans to play defensive tackle. They need some veterans to be backups at the defensive end spot. They need some veterans to fill out other portions of the defense, but specifically on the defensive line, they rotate through those guys. They do those hockey changes where they go 4 in, 4 out so often. And you saw the ability to mix and match down the stretch with Mario Edwards healthy and playing, and Foley Fatukasi healthy and playing, and Tim Settle healthy and playing, Tommy Togiai healthy and playing. Like, they were able to mix and match at the defensive tackle spot. Derek Barnett made some plays as a backup defensive end. Obviously, Danico Autry made some plays as a backup defensive end. You've got Will Anderson. You've got Daniil Hunter. Those are your two starters on the defensive line. You don't have two starters in the defensive tackle spot. You don't have as much depth at either defensive end or defensive tackle as you did when the season ended. So you kind of need some of that. Now, is that a draft pick in the first round? Yeah, hopefully not. It's probably from free agents, probably the next version of Mario Edwards, the next version of Foley Fatukasi, the next version of Derek Barnett, but you need some defensive line depth. So balancing want versus need this year for the Texans, that'll be incredibly important for this offseason that they have coming up. Nick Caserio saying, just looking for good football players. You and me both, Caserio. You and me both. Super Chats will go to the front of the line. We'll get to as many comments, questions, joys, and concerns as we can. I think everybody's been pretty good. Maybe we'll get to that mock draft. Abel with a Super Chat and then follows it up with the question, would you sign Trey Smith from Kansas City if he hits free agency? I mean, would I sign him? Yes. But, like, would the Texans be able to manage signing him? It seems highly unlikely. Smith is supposed to be one of the most expensive free agents in all of football this upcoming year. He's going to make a tremendous amount of money. He is one of the best at the position. His spot rack projection for what he has coming up here after being a late round pick for his career, his spot rack projection, as soon as I find it and click on it, is got to be just enormous. Yeah, $19.7 million for Trey Smith. Like, as much as I would like to see Trey Smith, one of the best right guards in all football, playing right guard for the Houston Texans, it just fiscally isn't reasonable that the Texans are going to be able to do that. It just fiscally isn't possible that the Texans can do that. It's a good idea. Go get one of the premier free agents, plop him onto the offensive line, but it's going to be a close to $100 million contract, and they just don't have that sort of flexibility, especially when you think about the fact that in a couple of years, CJ Stroud's going to get big money. Will Anderson's going to get big money. Derek Stingley is probably getting big money this offseason. It becomes pretty hard to fit in an additional big-time offensive lineman from a big, expensive standpoint. Now, it's worth noting the Eagles are a great example of pay a bunch of people and still make it work, because they have paid one of their wide receivers, they've paid their quarterback, they've paid their running back, they've paid multiple offensive linemen, and they've paid a handful of defenders. So there's money to be had. The salary cap's going to go up here in the next couple of years, so it's not panic. It's not like, oh my God, the Texans are cap poor. Like, that's not the situation. It just, you got to be diligent about how you spend your money. And it doesn't feel like very often, unless he's getting a real good deal, it doesn't feel like Nick Caserio truly shops near the top of free agency. I know he got Daniil Hunter last year, but that 2-year deal that lines up with when they need to pay some other guys, That kind of is a little bit of a steal there from Caserio. So unless something like that happened, I just don't see how you get Trey Smith on the Houston Texans. So get to as many of these comments and questions. I got some catching up to do here. Sean G says, word salad answer from Nick Caserio. Funny enough, water is also wet. Okay. Good to see you, Fred. Good to see you, David. Pawn Shop. Good to see you. Panda, appreciate you for jumping in. Ruben, how you doing? The only position on defense I'd focus on is getting another safety and corner for depth. Yeah, look, depth corner, a necessity this offseason. You can't have a Jeff Okudah if Stingley has to miss time or Kamari Lassiter has to miss time. Preferably somebody that can play inside too if Jalen Petrie needs to miss time. So Jalen wants another right guard. Brandon, really have to see if Caserio asked Titus to move into left guard and train for it this offseason. I do wonder if that will make him a better football player overall, and if that will ultimately improve what Titus Howard can bring to the table as a left guard for this team. I mean, the midseason switch after getting ready for right tackle, not ideal, not the best, so I could see where maybe they think to themselves, let's give this guy one more chance. If he shows up at training camp, it's not working. Maybe you dump him in training camp to somebody that needs a tackle. Jalen Johnson, have Titus at left guard, Jared at center, and have Juice at whatever guard we drafted fight at the right guard position. I mean, yeah, sure. I'm telling you, if I draft a guy like some of these names, Tyler Booker from Alabama, Jonas Savaiinaea from Arizona, Donovan Jackson, Ohio State. Yeah. That guy needs to start for me. Those guys are first or second round picks. Those guys need to start for me. So Sean says, for me, I like a veteran center, move Titus to left guard, Fisher to right tackle, best available interior offensive lineman. And Patterson, see ya. Scruggs, see ya. Sean G got rid of you. Marcus, he likes Donovan Jackson from the Ohio State University. He's also trading Shaq Mason and Kenyon Green, get better offensive linemen. I just don't know if those players have any value. So I just don't know they have any value. I just don't know that you can get anything for Kenyon Green or you can get anything for Shaq Mason. For Kenyon Green, you need to find somebody else's Kenyon Green on defense and swap them. Like take some Kenyon Green's level player from another team and give them Kenyon Green and you take their player and just swap them. In fact, I'll go find another team's Kenyon Green and we'll just come up with a Kenyon Green trade this offseason. H-Town's Ultimate in with the super chat. He jumps to the front of the line. Cody, let's get some wings sometime. I missed the last meeting you and Landry had. Appreciate everything you do. We will have lots of off-season get-together stuff throughout the course of the off-season. We will do it at wing places. We will do it at cocktail places. We'll do it at burger places. We'll do it at barbecue joint. We have grandiose plans for the offseason, talking free agency, talking draft, just talking ball, or just hanging out, talking about whatever. There will be plenty of opportunities to get together. H-Town's Ultimate. We'll get some wings. More of a spicy guy, or are you more like like the sweet and savory types? Texans Tangents. Savion Williams is an awesome multi-use weapon. That's TCU wide receiver Savion Williams. So intriguing player. Missed out on the Senior Bowl. Not quite sure why. But if it's not injury related, then the combine should be very fun for him. Panda says, we can get a really good player at 25, so I'm good with whoever is best at that point, wide receiver, tight end, offensive lineman. Marcus is in favor of bringing back Mario Edwards. I am too. He only made $2 million last year. So I would tell you, I bring him back, and BG asks about Fadakasi. Fadakasi headed to free agency, but, I think you could get him back and maybe get a discount because he was hurt so much throughout the course of the season. So I am intrigued to see what they do with some of those defensive tackles that they had and defensive ends that they had in the room, and what they may ultimately do with trying to bring those guys back. It's another thing Caserio mentioned, and Todd McShay said, We're going to want players back. They're going to want to go elsewhere. And then we really dive into the free agency situation. Jose Garcia says, Josh Jacobs created a little bit of a rift in the locker room with what he said about the wide receiver room, and now Jaden Reed is a little upset. Reed would be awesome if he wants out. Jaden Reed, a little do-it-all kind of wide receiver that the Packers have had. I feels like a pretty expensive trade, so I don't know that that's necessarily how you want to use your draft assets. You only have 6 draft picks this upcoming season unless you move around, make some moves. You know, I'm not opposed to a Diggs-esque move where they move out of the first, into the second, use the extra draft capital, go get a Jaden Reed. That's not crazy. I just don't know if Green Bay's ready to sell a guy like that. And Matt LaFleur feels like the type of guy that could bring that thing back together. Y'all are not burnt out with this Texans news? Why would I be burnt out about it? Or is he asking the chat? I don't know. I'm not. I'm enjoying it. And, you know, if I thought people would watch, I'd do a mock draft every day. Don't threaten me with a good time. Eric Marquez says, if we D at 25, who would you like? I would hope that it'd be a defensive tackle, big-time defensive tackle, somebody that could start right away, be a difference maker, and maybe you could see growing into a difference maker at defensive tackle to the point where you maybe don't feel like you have to refill the Danielle Hunter's defensive end spot with a Danielle Hunter caliber player. You go a little bit less at that defensive end spot opposite Will Anderson. I'd probably lean defensive tackle, but you know, let's see what the mock draft machine spits out here in a few. Doyle with some good advice. He says hit the like button. It's a little thumbs up down below. Mike Dillard asks, am I losing confidence in Kaimi Fairbairn, the kicker? I don't know that I ever had full confidence in Kaimi Fairbairn. The extra point miss against the Indianapolis Colts before the Texans clinched the division in 2023, that was scary enough that it feels like stuff's got to be perfect. Got to be perfect for him. Nick Rodriguez, he's going to make me pull up the side-by-sides. Do you agree Nick Caley looks like Glenn Powell? So Glenn Powell, okay. I don't – it's a very generous – this guy looks like this guy. Let's see if I can get him kind of in roughly the same. All right, let's do the screen share here. All right, this is what Nick Caley looks like. So this is Nick Caley. All right, so we got you got a couple of different, like that's Nick Caley. It doesn't look terrible there. All right. This is Glenn Powell. Like, maybe. I mean, no, I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't see it. No, not Glenn Powell. That's too generous. That's too generous. Not Glenn Powell. That's pretty funny, though. Good to see you, Rick. Bury me in the H. Mr. Schutz goes to Washington. Good to see you, Barry. Just talking adding a tight end. Yeah, you should have more bodies at tight end. Look, the 3 guys they have now, Brevin Jordan coming off of the major knee injury, Cade Stover, and Dalton Schultz, they could use some competition, some push for their spots. David likes a Darius Alexander from Toledo. A little early in the first, but, depth guy, maybe second-round pick or something like that. Certainly. Are they going to get rid of Shaq? I believe so. It's not the craziest thing in the world that they would keep Shaq Mason just because you don't get that much financial relief from just cutting Shaq Mason. Like there's not some sort of tremendous give back from just, you cut Shaq Mason. You actually only get about $2 million in savings if you cut him. And so I could understand where maybe they'd say, hey, Shaq, you need to come in. You need to be in great shape. and you need to compete for your spot, because if you don't, we'll just get rid of you in training camp. So I could see that scenario happening. I wouldn't like it. But I could see that scenario happening. Darius Alexander from Toledo be a nice interior defensive lineman. He's got DeMeco Ryans written all over him. Talking to him at the Senior Bowl, watching him dominate the Senior Bowl, he's got DeMeco Ryans written all over him. We'll talk a lot about Darius Alexander over the course of this offseason. Let's see here. Near their corner for sure. Where's Riley predicted to go? Yeah, corner definitely need some depth there. Now, I don't know if you need to make it a top priority, but you don't want to get left with a Jeff Okudah either. So maybe moving it up a little bit so you don't end up with an Okudah would be kind of my hope. And I'm sorry, Pan, I don't know Riley. Fill me in on on who. Riley who. Cody, you think Bregman signs with the Astros? Tired of him leading the team on? No, I don't think he does, because if he was going to, he already would. Bury me in the H. He likes the trade back scenario. I'm in favor of the trade back scenario. It makes it harder to play the mock draft machine, but I'm in favor of the trade back scenario. We can have some fun with that. I mean, depending on what you get. I mean, if you're going right into the top of the second round, you're maybe not getting that much, but if you go from 6 to 8 picks in 2025, that's a pretty good move. Panda did not agree with the Glenn Powell. Shanji, maybe after a bottle of tequila. Poor man's Glenn Powell. Chris Morales says, okay, looks like he's from rural Midwest. He's from Ohio. So good call. I like Irv Smith Jr. Tight end blocks a hell of a lot better than Schultz. Yeah, I mean, you can find Irv Smiths anywhere, so you don't necessarily have to keep Irv Smith. You can find Irv Smiths. Charles wants to send Kenyon Green to Dallas. Sure. Quincy Riley. Oh, is this the Louisville kid? Yes. Yes, he was fantastic at the Senior Bowl. Quincy Riley. Yes, he was fantastic at the Senior Bowl. He is not currently in a lot of people's big boards. Like, he's not currently going very high. He'd be I know John Crumpler talked to him at the Senior Bowl. He'd be a really fun mid-round pick to just kind of plop in there, maybe play a little inside as well. Yeah, Quincy Riley. Yeah, from Louisville. Ward number 3 at Louisville, ward number 1 at the Senior Bowl, I believe. So, Jake Eubanks says, I would take that kid from Stanford. He's incredible. My guess is when you're talking about that kid from Stanford, you're talking about Alec Aomanor, who is the wide receiver from Stanford. He is very good. He has been super productive in an unproductive offense, and it would be like having 2 Nico Collinses if you had him. So that is what I don't know if that's exactly how you want to build your wide receiver room, but Alec Aomanor, I believe I'm saying his name right, Alec Aomanor from Stanford. It'd be like a little bit smaller Nico Collins. He's not as tall as Nico, not as big, but a little bit smaller Nico Collins. He'd be a fun draft pick, probably day 2 guy, so it'd be interesting. Thank you for the super chat, Jake. All right, as we talk about the draft, and Mike asked, do we go O-line or receiver first? Well, let's find out. Let's play a little mock draft machine here, okay? So the mock draft machine, you see it right here. We're going to have be the Texans, 5 rounds. We're not doing 7 right now. Texans have a 5th rounder. They don't have a 6th rounder. They do have 1 7th rounder. When we add trades in, stuff like that. We'll do a full 7-rounder. But let's get into this thing. Can you guys see that? Do I need to make it bigger? That's too big. That might be too big too. This is perfect. All right. Let's start it up. Let's see what the Cam Ward to the Titans. Could live with that. Ted McMillan to the Giants. Well, that's incredible. Oh, Malachi Starks. There goes our safety. There goes Malachi Starks. See ya. Let's see what the Colts get here at 14. Oh, Ashton Genty and Jonathan Taylor? What are we doing in Indianapolis? Oh, man, Tyler Warren goes at 20. Luther Burden at 21. Colston Loveland off the board. Boy, this mock draft, not great. Not great. And we are right here squarely in badass defensive tackle territory. That is where we are right here. Two absolute monsters at the interior defensive tackle spot. Walter Nolan from Mississippi, very good, super impressive at the Senior Bowl, quick as a hiccup. He's very good. Kenneth Grant, a lot of people like what Grant has done, did it at Michigan, was exceptional in a very tough conference, can play in a couple of different spots there for you on the defensive line. There's Texas's Matthew Golden, but it's a deep wide receiver group. We could maybe do something else there. Gray Zabel, we've talked a lot about him on the channel. Offensive tackle for North Dakota State. He's going to play interior for the his NFL career. Josh Connerly Jr., he's another interior offensive lineman that played tackle, played pretty well at the Senior Bowl going inside. He's one of the top tackles, and he decided to still come to the Senior Bowl and test his mettle against everybody. You want another corner, man. Barron would be good. We're not drafting a linebacker. We're getting kind of deep in here. There's A.O. Manor, Jack Besh. See, this is one of those situations where if you could move back a couple spots, we're not doing trades. If you could move back a couple spots, it'd be great. Do I go out there and go get just a monster at the interior defensive line? Do I go out there and just get somebody that can just really change things for this defensive line and is going to be there after Danielle Hunter leaves? I think I'm going to go with an offensive lineman. I think I'm going to go with an offensive lineman. Then we got a guy that can maybe step in right away, play right guard for you, and played at a big-time school. We're going with Josh Connerly Jr. It's not super exciting to take an offensive lineman, but the guys we really wanted, they were off the board. We like some of these other wide receivers. We're going to wait a little bit. Okay, Nick Caserio saying, "Hey, we're not gonna be feeling like we have to do this or have to do that. We're just gonna take really good football players." We got a really good football player in Josh Connerly. There goes Besh, one of our wide receiver targets. There goes one of our running back targets. There goes another wide receiver target. Oh man, these wide receivers are falling off the board here. Now here we are. Gosh, Tyler Booker on the board still. Let's go take a look just quickly at what the other AFC South teams did here. The Colts got Jack Besh. Man. Mario asks, not a fan of Mimbu from Missouri. Just don't feel like he's got the interior stuff that I would want. Okay, Dylan Sampson goes off the board to San Fran. What did the Titans do and the Jaguars do? Okay, they both went cornerback. They probably should. They got to try to stop Nico Collins. Trey Amos from Mississippi, Ole Miss, if you will, and then Ravel from East Carolina. Dinged up, coming off of an injury, but very good. Very good. Okay, let's worry about our pick here. Okay, who cares about what the other guys did? Worry about our pick. Kind of need some more. I mean, we went with an offensive lineman. Let's get something fun here. Let's get an edge guy or an interior guy like Darius Alexander. Or maybe a wide receiver. Jaden Higgins would be fun. You look at Higgins' profile, look at some of the success he had. Does not drop the football, though he had a couple of drops at the Senior Bowl. Pretty good at some Contested catches, receiving, pretty good at contested catches. Eats up man coverage. Got a 6'4", 215. Man, he's a big cat. He's a big cat. Jaden Higgins is kind of where I'm leaning. All right. Darius Alexander, man. Just wonder if there's another defensive tackle that we could get a little bit later. Wyatt Milam, we already drafted a tackle. We're moving inside. Sebastian Castro. A lot of people loved what Castro put together at the Senior Bowl. A lot of people liked what he put together. And, man, safety's just a little tough. There are some of those running backs, but wonder if we could wait just a little bit more on the running backs. Let's take a look at the wide receivers. Kind of our choice here. It's some interesting names. Jalen Knoll would be fun. Let's get the big guy. Let's get the big guy that can go out there, win a couple of different ways. Let's get Jaden Higgins. Let's keep this thing rolling here. Got us a wide receiver. Got us an offensive lineman. Maybe we can go with a defensive tackle. Maybe we want another wide receiver. Some of those tackles start flying off the board. There goes Darius Alexander. We got to think about a tight end as well. These running backs haven't quite started to fly off just yet. A little bit more wide receiver work out of there. Devin Neal at running back. Oh, man. All right, here's where we're looking. We're looking for a unique player here in the third. We can get a little risky, but let's get with like a unique profile. Somebody who's got some stuff that other guys don't have. Okay? So we're obviously not looking at quarterbacks. Safety, a little early. I'd be lying if I told you a lot about him. I'll learn about him, though. Trey Harris from Ole Miss, one of my favorite wide receivers in this draft. He's got a wide range of where people think he actually is going to go. Deion Walker is, what a mountain of a man. Okay, just an absolute monster that I will show you as soon as this stuff. 6'6", 345. He's actually 6'7" and heavier than that. He'd be a load in the middle of D'Amico Ryans' defense. That's kind of where I'm leaning, unless we see something that we like a little bit more. Harold Fannin is really interesting. He's just a little small at tight end for me, okay? Not going Milroe, not going Makuba. Man, you want to talk about having some fun with a running back. R.J. Harvey, with the production that he put together, his elusiveness and his ability to make guys miss, and his just incredible production, 22 touchdowns in 2024 after 16 touchdowns in 2023. You get the receiving yards. You get the rushing yards. He could help you in the return game as well. Man, we've been heavy on the offense. I wonder if a running back will hang around long enough for us that we can take the big fella, the defender. Just D'Amico Ryans getting his hands on this guy, teaching him a little bit more. Give me Walker out of Kentucky. Go out there, make a mountain of a difference there at the defensive tackle spot. Guy that you could play right away in your defensive tackle rotation, eat up space, make it difficult on opposing offenses to keep their quarterback clean, run the football on you, all good stuff. We're waiting 9 picks away. Some names coming off the board. We're looking running back here. Okay, we're looking running back. Oh, Brashard Smith would have been the pick if he was there. Brashard Smith would have been the pick if he was there. All right, DJ Giddens from Kansas State. Gonna have a hard time saying no to him. Jack Kaiser, linebacker from Notre Dame. Kaiser had an incredible Senior Bowl. He's exactly what the Texans want in a linebacker. They just got linebackers on the squad already. Oladejo was great at the Senior Bowl. He had some incredible moments. He'd be intriguing. Mitchell Evans, baby Gronk from his time at Notre Dame, but some knee injuries have kind of made it tough for him to. Oh, there he is. There he is. Jarquez Hunter, Auburn running back. Okay. This guy is a do-it-all running back. He can catch the ball. He proved it at the Senior Bowl. Guys were all over him. He's still ripping the ball out of the air. He can pass block. And most importantly, he is a physical, mean SOB. Jarquez Hunter, welcome to the Houston Texans. Marcus really wants Scadaboo. I think Scadaboo's gone by now. He's got to be off the board. We don't see Cam Scadaboo here because Cam Scadaboo got drafted already. He's going to go day 2, early day 2. We're in day 3 here. We're going with Auburn's Jarquez Hunter at the running back spot. Love what he brings to the table. Little do-it-all. There goes Jack Kaiser, my guy at linebacker. All right, now we're thinking about a tight end here. Think about a tight end, maybe a safety, maybe a corner, maybe a linebacker. A lot of different ways we can go. There goes our guy Quincy Riley right there at the top of the 5th round. Good job, Carolina. Nick Nash would have been a fun additional wide receiver. There goes some of our tight ends. We waited. We're getting punished here. We're getting punished for waiting on the tight end. That's okay. Monagle would have been a good guy at running back, a little kind of like a lesser Jarquez Hunter to me. And Stuntsman would have been a good one too, but he flies off the board here. All right. Looking at the top here, no quarterbacks. Obviously, CJ Stroud's got that to take care of. Thomas Fadone II. Okay. Stay with me here. We'll talk about him in a second. Come back to him. Monaheim was one of the better centers at the Senior Bowl. And I know my guy John Harris really likes what Monaheim brings to the table. Pretty good run blocking grade, pass blocking grade, zone grade. Pretty good. He's not an incredible player. That's why we're sitting here in the 5th round trying to figure out what we're doing with him. Monaheim's a consideration. That'd give us 2 offensive linemen, a new center perhaps, and a new guard. Let's keep scrolling here. We can get selective here. We don't have to go any certain way. Jalen Conyers, Swinson from LSU. Let's keep going here. Tafuna. If we didn't have Walker, we'd be getting Tafuna. Junior Tafuna was awesome at the Senior Bowl. I'm not loving these DBs here. I'm not loving the defensive backs. Let's look at the tight ends here. Not loving the tight ends except for my guy Thomas Fadone II. So let me tell you about Fadone. Here. Former top tight end recruit in the nation. Okay? Former top tight end recruit in the nation. Thomas Fadone was an absolute animal in high school. And he was the top tight end in the nation. He went to Nebraska. Fadone was the 46th prospect nationally when he came out. He was the number 1 tight end in the country, and he was the 46th overall prospect. And then he went to Nebraska, and he got banged up. He had some knee problems, okay? And it just didn't go great for Fadone in school. He missed the entire 2022 season. And then Nebraska was just okay. Like, they were just okay. They couldn't quite get him the ball. But watching him at the Senior Bowl and what he put together and the willingness to block and the success receiving the ball, getting Thomas Fadone in here to push those tight ends in that tight end room. Okay. The draft is going to wrap up here. We only did 5 rounds, so a couple more picks remaining. Let's see how the mock draft people analyze this draft. See what they say. Grading the draft, stay in your seat. Don't worry, I'm not getting up. All right, so the PFF mock draft assistant, they'd have gone with Walter Nolan. I went with an offensive lineman. I don't know if they understand how bad the offensive line situation is for the Houston Texans. So we got a tackle that's going to play guard for us. if we're the Texans. Jaden Higgins helps us out at the wide receiver situation. Deion Walker is going to be a guy that's going to play right away for us if we're the Texans. Jarquez Hunter is going to help us right away. They did not like that pick. I don't know why. Jarquez Hunter is going to help us right away with depth at the running back spot. And then Thomas Fadone is going to help us out with depth at the tight end spot. Those are our first 5 picks there for the Houston Texans. The mock draft machine gives us. What do we get? Overall rating of a B. And bottom 37% of all Texans drafts. Thank you. For nothing, graders. Okay. So there's the mock draft. People like the mock drafts? Panda's right. We do need. Where did she say up here? We need mock draft music. You're absolutely right about that. I will work on that. We will get mock draft music. Okay? We will get mock draft music. So, food review time. Food review Fridays. Food review Fridays. Do a new one each Friday, either on the end of a recorded video or here on a live stream. Doritos Golden Sriracha chips. These are new. Saw them. I think you can get them at the Walmart for like $3.50. They were on sale at Walmart. But Doritos Golden Sriracha. All right? For the people that are watching the food reviews for the first time, scale of 1 to 11. Okay? Scale of 1 to 11. And 11's Tom Brady, the greatest of all time. 1 is not even worth it. And the trick with chips, get them upside down, shake them up so that the seasoning that settles at the bottom gets all over your chips. Initial smell, definitely some heat to it, and definitely smells like Asian food. Like you get that distinct like earthiness, but still like a little pungent in your nose. Definitely. That's what they look like. They look, just like the nacho cheese Doritos. There's not any sort of like amazing amount of seasoning on them. They just seem to be there. Oh boy. Boy, that gets you. Oh, I like that. That gets you right away. That is very clearly not like any other Dorito chip that's out there right now. That's a pretty darn good chip. Let's give it another shot here. You definitely get that Sriracha flavor. You definitely get that. Like from like somebody who likes Sriracha a pretty good amount, you definitely get that. It does taste like Chinese food. It tastes like noodles in like a Chinese sauce almost. One more here. 4 chips. It's pretty good. Gives you a pretty good range to judge a chip. Boy, if you like that Chinese food flavor, like that heavy garlic, little hint of spice, man, if you like that, you're going to like the Golden Sriracha Doritos. Is it better than a regular Dorito? Is it better than a Cool Ranch Dorito? Probably not. But it feels like you're eating a Chinese food almost in a chip form. Good job, Doritos, to create a unique flavor. I wouldn't want a lot of these. It's a nice little walk by and grab it out of the the bowl. Like I wouldn't just sit there and just pound like a bag of these. Somebody's requesting one more. It tastes like Sriracha, but it's not that overwhelming, kind of heat sometimes that Sriracha has where it hits you. It's a good tang. I don't know what they did with the golden. It's a good job. All right, 1 to 11. 11's Tom Brady. 1's worth not buying. Doritos Golden Sriracha chips. I'm going to go 8.7. I'm going to go 8.7. Would I recommend for a late night snack? Yes. Yes, I would. Here's what I would say with this. This is a great compliment to a spread. If this was the only thing that you had, I think the flavor would sort of wear out. But this is a great compliment to a spread that you have. And again, I don't think I want 15 of these. Or 20 of these, or I'm just eating a whole bag. This will walk by, grab one, and I wonder what this would taste like in like a dip. Like if you had a ranch dip with this, pretty good. Pretty good. I like these. I'd recommend giving them a try. I don't think they're going to be your favorite Doritos. Don't let them be the only chips that you have, just in case you don't love the flavor. The smell is good too. Sometimes chips don't smell good. Sometimes chips don't smell very good. That's a good Dorito. They did a good job. We'll do a lot of chips because that's very easy to do. But it's also one of my favorite things. I love chips. On the docket for Food Review Friday, we just did the Golden Sriracha Doritos. They got an 8.7. Is that what I said? On the docket is the Roasted Poblano limited edition H-E-B chips, as well as the cheese enchilada tortilla chips. So H-E-B always has some of those fantastic, unique, different flavors. Those two will be on the list in the future. The cheese enchilada tortilla chips and the roasted poblano thin chips, both limited edition H-E-B, they're on the docket for next time. So I'm going to steal one more Dorito, if you don't mind. That's good. That's good. Yeah, that's a good chip. Good job. I will have some of those Sunday with a ranch dip for Super Bowl Sunday. Would I buy another bag of them, though? Probably. I'd have them hanging around. Again, just a little, like 2-3 chips. Boom. I don't think you want to eat a whole bag of these. So, good job, Doritos. Golden Sriracha. 8.7. Worth a try. If you try them and hate them, let me know. Jerome kicks ass. All red jerseys more than once next year. I hope so. I thought they should have worn the reds on white for the Christmas game. Although that would have spoiled the reds on whites after that massacre. So Christopher, I think he's catching up. He says guard. I can understand that. Primetime variant. Those chips are the type to go and get some for the first time and maybe go back for seconds. Yeah. I can see where that falls in the category for most people. Yeah, the flavor stays around for a while. You're going to want some gum after these, by the way. You're going to want some gum. So, all right, that'll do it for the live stream. Talked about want versus need. Did a little mock draft. Probably could have gone defensive a little earlier and maybe some different wide receivers, but hey, there's plenty more mock drafts where that one came from. And we got plenty more stuff coming for you here on the channel, as well as SNL, where I do my co-hosted show with the Locker Room's Landry Locker. We'll both be in Indianapolis for the NFL Scouting Combine to cover everything that goes on with the Combine. That'll be a blast. And of course, we are making all that happen thanks to your fantastic support. So appreciate you for all the support, the likes, the comments, the shares, the super chats, everything. Thank you so much. Food Review Fridays. It's a new thing. We'll have it on every Friday here in the off season. Food Review Fridays. And we might even try both those HEB chips next week. And if everybody's nice, we'll do mock drafts a lot of times too, because I love a mock draft. Love talking about players coming up in the draft. Is there a way we can do mock free agency? I'll think about it. Okay. We end the live stream the same way each and every time. This is my hope for you. This is my charge for you as well. I want you to eat good. I want you to sleep good. I want you to be good. And we'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody.